The air around you can shift, can't it? A subtle chill where there was once warmth, a flicker in an eye, a compliment that lands with a thud instead of a lift. You sense it. That gut feeling, that primal instinct honed over millennia telling you something is off. Someone in your orbit, someone who smiles to your face, secretly dislikes you. This isn't paranoia, it's the uncomfortable truth of human interaction. Not everyone will be your champion. Some will quietly, perhaps even unconsciously, resent your light, your progress, your very presence. And this hidden animosity, this undeclared Cold War, can be a silent drain on your energy, a subtle poison to your confidence if you don't know how to handle it. But what if you could turn this unease into an advantage? What if you could develop an unshakable core, an internal fortress so strong that their hidden daggers simply glance off? This isn't about becoming a mind reader or descending into suspicion. This is about equipping yourself with powerful, intelligent strategies to react, to protect your peace, your energy, and your path forward. Today, we delve into 5 potent ways to navigate the murky waters of secret dislike, not by engaging in their shadowy games, but by elevating yourself beyond their reach. Prepare to transform from a potential target into an immovable force. This is how you reclaim your power when faced with those who secretly wish you ill. First, we master the way of indifferent observation and emotional detachment. This is your foundational shield. When you sense that veiled negativity, that subtle undermining, the temptation is to react emotionally, to feel hurt, angry, confused, or to seek validation. Resist. Instead, you cultivate the mindset of a detached scientist observing a peculiar phenomenon. Their dislike, their snide remarks, their dismissive gestures, these are not personal attacks that define your worth. They are data points, revealing more about their internal landscape, their insecurities, their unmet needs than about you. Imagine a colleague, let's call him Mark. Mark consistently forgets to include you in important email chains or subtly talks over you in meetings, always with a plausible excuse. The old you might internalize this, wondering, what did I do? Why doesn't he respect me? The new you, practicing indifferent observation, steps back. You note the pattern. It happens when you're about to present a good idea or when you receive praise from a superior. The data suggests Mark's behavior isn't about your incompetence, but perhaps his insecurity or his fear of being overshadowed. This observation doesn't require you to like Mark or excuse his behavior. It simply means you don't allow his actions to dictate your emotional state. You see it for what it is, his issue, not your failing. This detachment is a Stoic superpower. The Stoics taught that we cannot control external events or other people's opinions, but we can control our judgments and reactions to them. Their secret dislike is external to your locus of control. Your emotional response, however, is entirely within it. By choosing detachment, you rob their negativity of its intended power. It's like an arrow shot with malicious intent that falls harmlessly at your feet because you refuse to stand in its path and let it pierce you. Consider the so-called friend whose compliments always carry a barb. That's a lovely dress, it's amazing what they can do with cheaper fabrics these days. Or, congratulations on the promotion, I guess they're really desperate for managers right now. Instead of feeling the sting, observe. What's the underlying message? Jealousy. A need to feel superior by subtly putting you down. When you observe it as a symptom of their own internal disquiet, it loses its personal charge. You might even feel a flicker of pity, though you don't need to dwell on that. The primary goal is your own emotional preservation. Think of Sarah, a talented graphic designer who noticed her mentor, a more established designer named Elaine, would often give her projects that were clearly beneath her skill level or offer faint praise for her best work. Initially, Sarah felt disheartened, questioning her abilities. But then she started to observe Elaine more closely. She noticed Elaine only exhibited this behavior when Sarah was gaining independent recognition. Elaine, despite her success, was deeply insecure about new talent rising. Once Sarah reframed Elaine's actions as a reflection of Elaine's fear rather than Sarah's inadequacy, she stopped seeking Elaine's approval. She focused on her work, built her portfolio, and her emotional energy, once consumed by self-doubt, was now free. She didn't confront Elaine. She simply ceased to be emotionally affected by her subtle attempts at suppression. Ignoring this way, remaining emotionally entangled, leads to a cascade of negative consequences. You become reactive, easily provoked. You might find yourself constantly trying to prove your worth to someone who has already decided to dislike you, a futile and exhausting endeavor. You might even start to internalize their negativity, believing their subtle criticisms, which can erode your self-esteem over time. You give them control over your inner peace. Conversely, embracing indifferent observation brings profound benefits. You cultivate an unshakable inner calm. Your mental clarity improves because you're not clouded by emotional reactivity. You conserve vast amounts of energy that can be redirected towards your goals. And ironically, you gain a strategic advantage. You see them and their motivations more clearly, while they remain unaware that their tactics are being dispassionately analyzed rather than emotionally absorbed. So, how do you cultivate this? Practice mindfulness. Create a buffer between their action and your reaction. When you feel that initial emotional spike, pause, breathe, observe the feeling without becoming it. This simple act creates space for a more considered response. Journal as an observer, write down the instances of perceived dislike. But do it like a scientist detailing an experiment, focus on factual behaviors, words used, context. Avoid emotionally charged language in your notes. Subject X stated Y in Z context. Pattern observed, this occurs when. This helps to depersonalize it. Affirm your intrinsic worth. Your value is not determined by external approval. Remind yourself daily, their opinion is their opinion. It is not my reality. My worth is inherent. Focus on your own standards, your own integrity. Reframe their behavior. Actively ask yourself, what might be going on with them that would cause them to act this way? This isn't about making excuses for them, but about shifting the focus from your perceived flaws to their potential issues. Indifferent observation is not about being cold or uncaring. It's about being wise. It's about understanding that you are the guardian of your own emotional well-being, and you do not need to grant anyone else the power to disturb it, especially those who operate from the shadows of secret dislike. Next, we embrace the way of strategic disengagement and boundary fortification. Once you've observed and detached, the next powerful move is to strategically withdraw your most precious resources, your time, your energy, your emotional investment, from those who radiate this hidden animosity. It's not about dramatic confrontations or public pronouncements. It's a quiet, decisive reallocation of your life force. You build and enforce impenetrable boundaries, not as walls of fear, but as demarcations of self-respect. Think of your energy as a finite currency. Every interaction, every thought you dedicate to someone is an expenditure. Why would you willingly invest this valuable currency in individuals who, even subtly, wish you ill or seek to undermine you? Strategic disengagement is the wisdom of recognizing a bad investment and cutting your losses. Consider the acquaintance who always seems to steer conversations towards negativity, gossip, or subtly digs for information they can later twist. When you're around them, you feel drained, a little bit slimier. Indifferent observation helped you see this pattern. Strategic disengagement means you consciously reduce your exposure. You become busy. Your replies to their texts become slower, shorter. You politely decline invitations. You don't offer explanations or apologies. You simply become less available to them. This isn't rude, it's an act of self-preservation. In the digital realm, this is even easier. That online friend whose comments always have a backhanded compliment or a passive-aggressive undertone, you don't need to engage in an online argument. You have tools: mute, restrict, unfriend, block. Your digital space is an extension of your personal territory. Guard it just as fiercely. Why allow someone to inject their quiet venom into your feed, into your mind, day after day? Let me tell you about Alex, a software developer. He was part of a collaborative project with a developer from another team. Ben was outwardly friendly, but Alex noticed that Ben would often accidentally omit Alex from crucial update meetings or forget to share vital pieces of code until the last minute, causing Alex to scramble and appear less competent. After observing this pattern, Alex realized Ben likely saw him as competition. Instead of confronting Ben aggressively, which could backfire in their corporate environment, Alex practiced strategic disengagement. He ensured all project communications were documented in shared channels. He proactively scheduled brief check-ins with the project manager to ensure he was looped in. When Ben tried to isolate him, Alex had already created alternative pathways for information and collaboration. He also limited his non-essential interactions with Ben, keeping them polite but brief and strictly professional. Alex protected his work and his sanity not by fighting Ben, but by making Ben's subtle sabotage ineffective through strategic withdrawal and boundary setting around their interactions. Ignoring this way, continuing to engage with those who secretly dislike you, is like willingly wading into quicksand. You'll find yourself constantly drained, pulled into their dramas, and potentially suffering real-world consequences as their subtle negativity chips away at your reputation or opportunities. You might find yourself becoming cynical or mistrustful in general, because you're allowing these specific negative interactions to color your worldview. The positive outcomes of strategic disengagement and boundary fortification are immense. You reclaim vast reserves of energy, which you can then invest in positive relationships and productive pursuits. Your mental and emotional health improves significantly. You cultivate a profound sense of peace because you're no longer fighting silent, unwinnable battles. Most importantly, you send a powerful, unspoken message to yourself and to others. Your well-being is non-negotiable. Here are actionable steps to implement this. Identify your energy drains. Consciously list individuals or situations that consistently leave you feeling depleted, anxious, or diminished, especially if you suspect underlying dislike. This isn't about labeling, but about honest assessment. Practice the art of the polite no. You do not owe everyone your time or energy. Learn to decline invitations or requests from these individuals without guilt or lengthy justifications. Thank you for thinking of me, but I won't be able to make it. Period. Limit interaction frequency and duration. If complete disengagement isn't possible, e.g., a colleague or family member, reduce the frequency and length of your interactions. Keep conversations brief, focused, and superficial. Don't offer up personal information or emotional bait. This is where the gray rock method can be invaluable, becoming as uninteresting and unresponsive as a gray rock. Define your non-negotiables. What behaviors are absolutely unacceptable to you? Subtle undermining, passive aggression, veiled insults. Know your lines, and decide in advance what your response will be if those lines are crossed. Often, that response is further disengagement or a more direct boundary statement, which we'll cover later. Audit your digital boundaries. Review your social media connections. Who are you allowing into your digital personal space? Curate it ruthlessly for your peace of mind. Strategic disengagement isn't about weakness. It's about wisdom. It's recognizing that your inner peace and energy are sacred, and you have every right to protect them by choosing where and with whom you share your presence. Fortify your boundaries and watch as your life becomes a more focused, energized, and positive experience. Third, we unlock the profound power of the way of silent strength and value amplification. This strategy is less about directly reacting to their hidden dislike and more about rendering it utterly insignificant. Instead of getting drawn into their low-vibration games or even spending too much mental energy analyzing their motives, you redirect that focus with laser precision towards your own growth, your own excellence, your own unshakable value. Your thriving, your undeniable success, your radiant self-possession become your most powerful statement and your most impenetrable shield. Imagine someone is quietly trying to cast a shadow on you. You can either try to fight the shadow, or you can become so luminous that the shadow simply disappears in your brilliance. This way is about choosing to become luminous. When you are deeply engrossed in your mission, honing your skills, achieving your goals, and radiating authentic confidence, their petty negativity becomes like the buzzing of a distant gnat, faintly annoying perhaps, but ultimately irrelevant to your trajectory. Consider an entrepreneur, Maria, who started a small bakery. An established baker in the same town, let's call him George, never overtly criticized her, but Maria would hear whispers that her methods were unconventional, her prices too ambitious. He'd offer backhanded compliments if they met. Instead of confronting George or worrying about his opinions, Maria poured all her energy into her craft. She perfected her recipes, sourced the best ingredients, created an amazing customer experience, and innovated with unique offerings. Her bakery flourished. Customers raved. Her success spoke louder than any whisper George could conjure. Eventually, George's subtle digs just made him look small and envious in the face of Maria's demonstrable excellence. She didn't win by fighting him. She won by outclassing him through sheer value creation. This is not about arrogance. It's about a deep, quiet confidence that comes from competence and purpose. It's understanding that the best revenge on those who secretly dislike or underestimate you is not revenge at all, but massive, undeniable personal and professional success built on a foundation of integrity. Their dislike often stems from their own insecurities or envy of your potential. When you fully realize that potential, their negativity loses its anchor. Think about the individual in your social circle who subtly tries to diminish your achievements. You share good news, and they immediately change the subject or offer a lukewarm response. Instead of feeling slighted or seeking their validation, you double down on your pursuits. You continue to strive, to achieve, to share your authentic joy with those who genuinely celebrate you. Your light isn't for them to approve of, it's for you to shine. I recall a story of a young academic, David, who felt a consistent, subtle resistance from a senior professor in his department. No direct attacks, but his research proposals were often met with excessive skepticism, his contributions in faculty meetings quietly overlooked. David could have become bitter or embroiled in departmental politics. Instead, he channeled his frustration into his work. He collaborated with researchers from other institutions, published prolifically in high-impact journals, secured significant grant funding, and became a sought-after speaker. His value became so undeniable that the senior professor's subtle attempts to sideline him became increasingly futile and, frankly, irrelevant. David didn't need that professor's approval anymore. The wider academic community had already recognized his merit. His strength was silent, built through relentless dedication to his craft. If you ignore this path, if you allow their secret dislike to derail your focus, you risk stagnation. You become preoccupied with their opinions, constantly looking over your shoulder, second-guessing yourself. You lose sight of your own North Star, your own intrinsic drive. You essentially allow them to win by dimming your own light to match their preferred level of mediocrity. The positive outcomes of value amplification are transformative. You achieve genuine, lasting success on your own terms. You build an unshakable, authentic confidence that isn't dependent on external validation. You naturally attract positive, supportive, and high-achieving individuals into your life because like attracts like. And as a satisfying byproduct, you make their secret dislike look increasingly petty, foolish, and rooted in their own limitations. Here is how to walk this path of silent strength. Define your mission. What are your core values, your passions, your most important goals? Get crystal clear on what truly matters to you. This becomes the compass for your energy. Commit to continuous improvement, Kaizen. Invest relentlessly in your skills, your knowledge, your physical and mental well-being. Become a student of your craft, whatever it may be. The more competent you are, the less others' opinions will faze you. Celebrate your own progress. Acknowledge and celebrate your wins, no matter how small. Don't wait for external applause, especially from those you suspect harbor ill will. Be your own biggest cheerleader. Let your actions speak volumes. Focus on doing, on creating, on contributing. Your results, your character, your impact will ultimately define you far more effectively than any words, theirs or even your own in defense. Cultivate an abundance mindset. Believe that there is enough success, happiness, and opportunity to go around. This helps you rise above the scarcity mindset that often fuels envy and secret dislike in others. Silent strength and value amplification are not about showing off. They are about showing up for yourself, for your dreams, for your highest potential. When you are truly dedicated to building an exceptional life, the opinions of those who secretly wish you less become nothing more than faint echoes from a world you've already transcended. Fourth, we must implement the way of controlled information and selective vulnerability. In this intricate dance of human dynamics, information is undeniably power. And in the hands of someone who secretly dislikes you, that power can be twisted, manipulated, and weaponized. This way is about becoming a discerning guardian of your personal narrative, your future plans, and your inner vulnerabilities. It's not about becoming a secretive recluse, but about exercising profound wisdom in what you share and with whom. Those who harbor hidden animosity are often keen observers, listening not to support, but to gather intelligence. Your dreams, your insecurities, your struggles, even your triumphs, all can become fodder for their subtle campaigns of undermining, gossip, or even direct sabotage if they feel emboldened. Protecting your information is a critical act of self-defense. Consider the colleague who seems overly interested in your career aspirations, always asking probing questions about your next move, your salary expectations, or projects you're working on, yet shares very little about themselves. If you also sense an undercurrent of dislike or competitive jealousy, be wary. They might be gathering information to anticipate your moves, to subtly discredit your ambitions to others. Oh, Sarah thinks she's ready for a management role already. That's ambitious. Or even to usurp your ideas. The same applies to personal vulnerabilities. Sharing a deep fear or a past mistake with someone who is genuinely supportive can be healing and strengthening. Sharing that same vulnerability with someone who secretly resents you can be like handing them a custom-made weapon. They might bring it up at an inopportune moment, use it to subtly question your judgment, or spread it as gossip, thinly veiled as concern. Think of James, who was excited about a new app idea he was developing. He shared the concept in detail with a member of his wider social circle, Michael, who seemed enthusiastic and supportive. James also knew Michael had a history of being somewhat competitive and prone to envy, but he dismissed his gut feeling. A few months later, James was shocked to see Michael launching a remarkably similar app, incorporating several of James's unique features. Michael had the resources to move faster. James learned a harsh lesson. Protect your intellectual property and sensitive plans, especially around those whose support might be superficial. His vulnerability, his exciting, unpatented idea was exploited. Ignoring the need for controlled information leaves you exposed. Your best-laid plans can be preempted or sabotaged. Your personal struggles can be used to paint you in a negative light. Your reputation can be insidiously eroded by carefully planted seeds of doubt based on information you freely and unwisely provided. You effectively arm those who wish you ill. The positive outcomes of mastering information control are significant. You protect your creative and professional endeavors from premature exposure or theft. You reduce your anxiety because you're not worried about your words being twisted or used against you. You build stronger, more meaningful connections with genuinely trustworthy individuals because selective vulnerability deepens true bonds. You maintain strategic control over your own narrative. Here is how to practice this crucial way. Employ the need-to-know principle before sharing sensitive information, be it a big new idea, a personal struggle, or details about your finances or relationships. Ask yourself, does this person need to know this? And more importantly, can I trust them implicitly with it? If the answer to either is no, especially if you sense underlying dislike, restrain yourself. Develop a small, vetted inner circle. Cultivate a few deep, trustworthy relationships where mutual respect and genuine support are undeniable. These are the people with whom you can be truly vulnerable. For everyone else, maintain a more guarded approach appropriate to the level of trust earned. Be mindful of your digital footprint. What you post online is public or semi-public information. If you suspect certain followers or friends harbor ill will, be exceptionally cautious about sharing overly personal details, future plans, or grievances online. They are watching. Learn to deflect probing questions gracefully. You don't have to answer every question asked of you, especially if it feels intrusive or comes from someone you don't fully trust. Practice polite deflections. I'm still working out the details on that one. Or, I'd rather not discuss that right now, thanks for understanding. Or simply changing the subject. Test the waters with non-critical information. If you're unsure about someone's intentions, you might share a minor, non-critical piece of information and observe how they handle it. Do they keep it confidential? Do they use it appropriately? Their reaction can be telling. Controlled information and selective vulnerability are not about paranoia. They are about prudence. It's about recognizing the strategic value of what you know and who you are, and ensuring that this value isn't carelessly handed over to those who might seek to diminish you. Guard your narrative. Protect your future. Choose your confidence wisely. Finally, we arrive at the way of assertive neutrality and dignified exit, if necessary. There comes a point where subtle dislike no longer remains hidden. It may escalate into overt disrespect. Passive aggression may become active aggression, or their actions may begin to cause tangible harm to your work, your reputation, or your well-being. In such instances, detachment and disengagement alone might not suffice. This is where you must be prepared to react with calm, assertive neutrality. And if the destructive behavior persists despite your efforts, you must have the courage to make a dignified exit from the relationship or situation. Assertive neutrality is key. This isn't about aggressive confrontation, emotional outbursts, or stooping to their level. It's about stating your position, your boundaries, and the impact of their behavior clearly, factually, and without emotional charge. Your tone is firm but neutral. Your focus is on the behavior, not on labeling the person. Imagine a teammate, Chloe, who has moved from subtle undermining to openly taking credit for your ideas in meetings, or making disparaging remarks about your work to others that get back to you. You've observed this pattern, you've tried to disengage, but the behavior is now directly impacting your professional standing. It's time for assertive neutrality. You might schedule a private conversation. Chloe, I've noticed that in the last 2 team meetings, when I presented X idea, you later represented it as your own. And I've also heard feedback that you've been critical of Y project I'm leading. This impacts team cohesion and my ability to contribute effectively. I need this behavior to stop. Notice the focus, specific examples, impact, and a clear request for change. No name-calling, no accusations about her disliking you, just facts and consequences. If this direct, neutral approach doesn't yield change, or if the environment is toxic beyond repair, the dignified exit becomes your most powerful act of self-preservation. This is not admitting defeat. It is a strategic maneuver to protect your sanity, your integrity, and your future. Staying in a persistently negative or abusive situation, hoping it will magically improve, is a recipe for burnout and self-destruction. Think of David, who was part of a volunteer organization. One influential member, Laura, seemed to take every opportunity to subtly block David's initiatives, spread rumors, and create a clique that excluded him. David initially tried assertive neutrality, calmly addressing specific instances with Laura and with the group leadership, but was met with denial, gaslighting, and further exclusion. He realized the organizational culture tacitly supported Laura's behavior. Continuing to fight would be a constant, draining battle. So David made a dignified exit. He didn't make a scene. He simply resigned, stating he was shifting his energies to other commitments. He then found another organization where his contributions were valued and he thrived. His exit wasn't a failure. It was a choice for a healthier environment where he could make a real impact. Ignoring this way, allowing overt disrespect or harm to continue unchecked, is a direct assault on your self-worth. You risk becoming a doormat, teaching others that it's acceptable to mistreat you. The stress will take a toll on your mental and physical health. You will feel powerless and resentful. The positive outcomes of assertive neutrality, and if needed, a dignified exit are profound. You reaffirm your self-respect and demonstrate that you will not tolerate mistreatment. You create the possibility for the negative behavior to cease, either because your assertion was effective or because you removed yourself from its path. You achieve peace of mind by extricating yourself from a toxic dynamic. And critically, you open up space in your life for healthier, more supportive relationships and opportunities. Here are actionable steps to implement this way. Prepare your assertive statement. If you need to address behavior, plan what you will say. Use I statements. I feel X when you do Y, and the impact is Z. Focus on observable behaviors and their consequences. State your needs or boundaries clearly. Practice delivering it calmly. Choose the right time and place. Address issues privately whenever possible, not in front of an audience, unless it's a situation requiring immediate public boundary setting, e.g., a public insult. Set clear consequences, and be prepared to follow through. If the behavior is a boundary violation, make it clear what will happen if it continues. If this behavior doesn't change, I will need to limit our interactions, further escalate this to HR, end this collaborative project. Know your walk-away point. Every person has a limit. What behaviors or situations are absolutely non-negotiable for you? Decide this in advance, so if that line is crossed, your decision to exit is already clear in your mind, making it less emotional and more decisive. Reframe an exit as empowerment. If you must leave a job, a group, or a relationship due to persistent, unresolvable negativity or disrespect, see it not as a defeat, but as a courageous act of self-care and a strategic step towards a better future. You are choosing yourself. Assertive neutrality and the willingness to make a dignified exit are the hallmarks of someone who truly values themselves and their well-being above the need for approval or the fear of conflict. It is the ultimate statement that you will protect your peace, even if it means walking away. So we've journeyed through 5 powerful ways to react to those who secretly dislike you, and more importantly, to protect yourself. The way of indifferent observation and emotional detachment. The way of strategic disengagement and boundary fortification. The way of silent strength and value amplification. The way of controlled information and selective vulnerability. And the way of assertive neutrality and dignified exit. These aren't tactics born of fear or paranoia. They are strategies rooted in wisdom, self-respect, and the profound understanding that your inner peace and emotional sovereignty are sacred. You cannot control the hidden currents of another person's heart, their secret judgments, or their veiled animosities. That is their burden to carry, their inner world to navigate. But what you absolutely, unequivocally control is your response. You control who gets access to your energy, your thoughts, your vulnerabilities. You control the standards by which you allow yourself to be treated. This knowledge, these ways of being, are not meant to make you jaded or mistrustful of the world. Instead, they are designed to be your shield and your compass, allowing you to navigate the sometimes treacherous terrain of human interaction with clarity, resilience, and an unshakable sense of self. It's about discerning who deserves your light and who is simply trying to cast a shadow upon it, and knowing precisely how to respond to the latter without dimming your own brilliance. Do not let the quiet negativity of others define your experience or dictate your path. Recognize it, understand its potential source within them, and then choose your reaction from a place of strength, not woundedness. Implement these strategies not as a reaction to their dislike, but as a proactive affirmation of your own worth and your commitment to a life lived on your terms. Your energy is your most valuable currency. Your peace of mind is your most precious asset. Guard them fiercely. Invest them wisely. Rise above the silent static of those who cannot or will not appreciate your melody. Build a life so robust, so authentic, so filled with your own purpose and joy that no secret dislike, no hidden animosity can ever truly penetrate your core. The power to do this resides entirely within you. Claim it, wield it, and thrive.